In My Life. This is the DVD that goes with the study notes for my arrangement for ukulele of the Lennon and McCartney song In My Life. Slight disagreements between John and Paul as to who did what in this one. Definitely John Lennon wrote the words, but Paul claimed that he did most of the melody lines, whereas John said he just did the chorus, so who's to know? In any case, just think of it as a Beatles song. It is atypically Beatles. It's quite tricky in places and quite easy in others. It is actually in the same key that it's recorded in, so it is one you can try and play along with theirs and find out where I've deviated from their version. So it's done in the key of A. Beginning is the guitar riff. That's the way I play the first time through. The second time, from bar 3, you actually want to have that A, just to add something variety, to add the harmony. And then you'd use the third finger to do a hammer on from 1 to 2 on beat 3. Then the open string gives you time to shuffle round to that shape. First time, second time. And already you've had just the 2 different chords, A and E, tonic and dominant. But you've already had this syncopation, the anticipation, which is a typical musical device. It takes it out of the ordinary. My way of doing that strum is just to, as always, up with the thumb, down with the first finger to nail both times. And if you've done it a few million times like I must have done, then it really does become natural, little bit of a swivel of the wrist if you want to get a bit more force into it. But this is one where delicacy really is useful. Then into the melody. So that's the first one. Easy, but then when you go to the second part of the bar, you've got to go from that to that, from the A with the B on the top to the E with the B on top. Well, actually it's an E7. If you look at exactly what notes you're doing, you've got a D in there. But if you didn't have the D, it wouldn't, sorry, the G sharp, it wouldn't be such a good chord. Now, one of the key things to learn in this song is these different versions of A you're going to use. At the beginning of bar 6, you're suddenly up to this shape, and you've got an A7, which is a really useful place here, where you've got the open G, and that comes again later in the song. It's a really useful chord. Stay in that position, 7 with a little finger. Then the D, originally when I was using that, and then I had this shift, because you've got this, then a big shift of the fingers, for the first finger to go to there while the second finger goes there. So I came up with the idea of actually using a second finger bar, and that's the way I do it now. It isn't amazingly easy, but it is more likely to be correct once you've got used to that. If you can get that for your D minor, I mean, you could even do, that would still be easier than where you've got too many fingers to get into a small space in a very limited amount of time. The song isn't fast, but it does keep going along quite pace. I put about 100. Repeat it. Now, notice I've used my little finger there. This is, we're at bar 13, sorry, the end of bar 12, because I had a lot of problems with this F sharp minor at first. Before I realised how much elevation you needed of the wrist to get everything. If you're doing it down, it's very easy for that not to get into place. But if you do that, then that drag can happen. Subtle thing here. Notice the first time you've had this D chord, F sharp minor D. Then the next time it comes, F sharp minor, but now a B7 chord. And then, just like you had with the little finger for the F sharp minor, I use it on the D7th, partly because, again, you can elevate the wrist and get that, and then your first finger's free to do that. Okay, you've got to repeat. End of first section. First time bar takes you back to the repeat at bar 5. Go through the whole thing again. But the second time, when you've got this bar, which is bar 18, 19, 20, you're now going into second time bar where you've got a few problems. Well, not real problem, but some tricky moments. And when I was reading through Wikipedia, the beautiful encyclopedia, free to everybody, free to be wrong as well, but I hope this bit's right. John Lennon asked George Martin, not George Harrison, George Martin, to invent a baroque sounding like harpsichord piece for this. He did it on piano, but he found he couldn't actually do it at the right speed to keep up with what he'd done. So the story goes that they recorded it at half speed and then doubled the speed of the tape to bring it into the right octave. So he'd played it down an octave and half the speed. On the ukulele it can work, because in bar 25 you'll see you're playing on alternating strings, and that means you can do. I did a very similar kind of run in my version of Pop Looks Bark from the BBC Ski Sunday, and if you wanted to see another version of this idea of playing fast scales against fixed notes, it's there. So what's going to happen at bar 21 is, notice that arpeggio in the second half of the bar, the E. It's like it happens in the Victoria College exam scales and arpeggios, where you're going down and finding the lowest note is there, not there as it will be on the guitar. I said you'd find that A7 chord again, and there it is in bar 25. Big stretch up to the 10, well, not really, you want to slide up there. Then you're into this. Okay, so, and at speed. Notice in bar 28, 29, 30, you got that 4, 5, 7 little series of grace notes which are played just as a semiquaver triplets, but do it all hammer on. And then go back at bar 31 into the regular tune again. That B7 again, a lovely moment, really such inventive writers, John and Paul were. Then at the ending, I mean, you could repeat the whole thing from there and go back and do it over again. For the ending, I've got and the timing of this is a little tricky, so I've put in a 3/4 bar at bar 42, which seems to just about make it work. There's one problem is that the harmony goes over where the guitar parts, and there are limitations to playing the ukulele. I don't like admitting it, but this is one. So where there I've delayed where the melody note comes in. And that's what the guitar does at the end. So just going back to bar 41. If you want to slow that down, it makes it a little more effective. A beautiful song to have worked on. I've been thinking about doing it for a long time, and then I heard someone choose it as one of their Desert Island discs, and it just prompted me to think about how you would go about it.